The bomber should have exploded in mid-air. High above the clouds of North Africa, a B-17 Flying Fortress is suspended in a state of impossible physics. Half of its tail section is simply gone, sheared away by a collision so violent it should have sent 10 tons of American steel spiraling into the desert below. Inside the fuselage, the wind howls through a gaping wound in the aircraft's spine. The crew is battered, wounded, and staring into the face of certain death. Every law of aerodynamics says this plane is a tomb, and yet, against all logic, the engines are still humming. The pilot's hands are white-knuckled on the controls. This is the story of a flight that defied the limits of human endurance and the structural integrity of the most famous bomber in history. This is the story of the All-American. In early 1943, the air war over Europe and North Africa was a meat grinder. For the crews of the United States Army Air Forces, the B-17 Flying Fortress was their only home, a silver speck in a sky filled with flak and German steel. These men weren't just pilots and gunners. They were a brotherhood, bound together by the knowledge that their survival depended entirely on the man sitting next to them. Daylight bombing was a suicide mission in slow motion. The survival rates were abysmal, and for many, the question wasn't if they would be hit, but when. On February 1, 1943, a group of B-17 from the 97th Bombardment Group took off from their base in Algeria. Their target, the German-controlled docks at Bizerte, Tunisia. Among them was a B-17 nicknamed the All-American, piloted by Lieutenant Kendrick Bragg. The mission started like any other, cold, loud, and tense. The B-17 flew in a tight combat box formation, a defensive strategy designed to overlap their machine gun fire and create a flying fortress of lead that German fighters couldn't penetrate. But even the best formation couldn't stop what was coming. As the All-American turned away from the target after dropping its payload, the sky erupted. German Messerschmitt Bf-109s swarmed the formation like hornets. The air was filled with the smell of spent cordite and the deafening roar of Browning .50 caliber machine guns. 2 German fighters dived toward the All-Americans' lead formation. One was hit by concentrated fire from the bombers. The pilot was killed or incapacitated instantly. His aircraft didn't veer away. It became a high-speed projectile of dead weight. The collision happened in a fraction of a second. The German fighter streaked over the top of the All-American, its wings slicing through the rear fuselage of the B-17 like a hot knife through butter. There was a sickening crunch of metal, a violent shudder that nearly threw the pilots from their seats, and then a terrifying silence in the intercom. The damage was catastrophic. The Messerschmitt had practically decapitated the bomber's tail. The left horizontal stabilizer was gone. The vertical fin was shredded. Most horrifyingly, the fuselage itself was sliced nearly in two. From the waist guns back, the only thing holding the tail to the rest of the plane were 2 narrow strips of metal and the thin cables used to control the rudder and elevators. Inside the plane, chaos reigned. The tail gunner was trapped in his compartment, looking through his glass windows at the empty air where the rest of the plane should have been. He could see the fuselage twisting, the metal groaning under the immense pressure of the wind. Every time the pilot moved the controls, the tail shifted independently of the nose. The aircraft was literally wagging its own tail. In the waist of the plane, the gunners were staring at a hole big enough to drive a jeep through. The oxygen lines were severed. The electrical systems were flickering. Several crew members were wounded by flying debris and the initial impact. The interior of the All-American was no longer a pressurized cabin. It was a wind tunnel at 20,000 feet, freezing cold and filled with the scent of hydraulic fluid and fear. Lieutenant Bragg felt the controls go slack, then vibrate with a violent, rhythmic throb. He looked at his co-pilot. They both knew the physics. The B-17 is a rugged aircraft, but it isn't designed to fly without a spine. Every second they remained in the air was a miracle, but it was a miracle that felt like it was about to expire. The decision was immediate. They had to get home. But home was hundreds of miles away across enemy territory and the unforgiving Mediterranean. The easy choice, the logical choice, was to bail out. Parachuting meant becoming prisoners of war, but it also meant staying alive. However, looking at his wounded crew and the state of the aircraft, Bragg made a different call. If the engines were turning and the cables were holding, they were going to fly this wreck until it fell apart or reached the sand. The return flight was an agonizing test of nerves. The All-American fell out of the formation, unable to keep up with the speed and maneuvers of the healthy planes. They were a straggler, the favorite target for German scavengers. Two other B-17 from their squadron saw the devastated bomber and did something legendary. They slowed down. They stayed with the All-American, flanking it to provide protection from any remaining German fighters who might want to finish the job. For the next 2 hours, the crew lived in a nightmare of suspense. The wind buffeted the severed tail, causing it to sway back and forth. The crew used whatever they could, emergency kits, parachute straps, and raw muscle, to stabilize what was left of the interior. They moved with extreme caution. A sudden shift in weight or a sharp turn could snap those last few inches of metal holding the plane together. They were flying a dead plane. Every time they hit a pocket of turbulence, the groaning of the metal echoed through the fuselage like a scream. The tail gunner remained at his post, despite the fact that his position was the most precarious, acting as a lookout for the very plane that was falling apart beneath him. As the North African coastline finally appeared on the horizon, a new fear set in: the landing. A B-17 landing is a high-stress event for the airframe under perfect conditions. For a plane held together by prayer and piano wire, hitting the runway could be the final blow. If the tail snapped upon touchdown, the plane would cartwheel, likely killing everyone on board in a fireball of wreckage. The base at Biskra came into view. The ground crews had been alerted. Ambulances and fire trucks lined the runway, their lights flashing. Bragg lined up the All-American for a long, flat approach. He couldn't afford to flare the nose too high. He couldn't afford a hard bounce. He had to lay the giant bomber down as gently as a feather. The wheels touched the dirt. The crew held their breath, bracing for the snap that would end it all. The tail swayed, the metal screamed one last time, and then the weight settled. The All-American slowed to a crawl and finally came to a halt. When the engines finally cut out, the silence was deafening. The crew climbed out, some collapsing onto the sand in disbelief. When the ground technicians walked to the back of the plane, they stopped in their tracks. They didn't see a bomber, they saw a skeleton. The rear of the B-17 was so badly damaged that they couldn't understand how the control cables hadn't snapped, or how the fuselage hadn't folded in half the moment it hit the air resistance. The All-American never flew again. It was stripped for parts, its job done. But the photographs taken of it on the tarmac that day became some of the most iconic images of the Second World War. They served as a testament not just to the incredible durability of the Boeing B-17, but to the sheer will of the men inside it. We often talk about the machines of war, the horsepower, the armor, the caliber of the guns. But the story of the All-American reminds us that a machine is only as strong as the spirit of the people operating it. That day, 10 men refused to let their dead plane die. They held on to the controls, they held on to each other, and they proved that sometimes the impossible is just a matter of refusing to give up. War is a series of statistics until you look at a plane like the All-American. Then it becomes a story of survival, of a pilot who refused to abandon his ship, and a crew that brought a ghost back to Earth. If you found this story of survival as incredible as we did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the legendary chronicles of World War II. Your support helps us keep these stories alive. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next mission.